shall be considered as adopted, and the bill, as amended, shall be considered as read. No further amendment to the bill as amended is in order except those printed in Part B of House Report 118-466. Each such further amendment may be offered only in the order printed in the report by a member designated in the report. Shall be considered read, shall be debatable for the time specified in the report, equally divided and controlled by the proponent and opponent, shall not be subject to amendment, and shall not be subject to a demand for division of the question. It is now in order to consider the Amendment 1 printed in Part B of House Report 118-466. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Indiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 1, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-466, offered by Mrs. Spartz of Indiana.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1160, the gentlewoman from Indiana, Ms. Spartz, and a member opposed shall each control 5 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield myself as much time as I may consume. I have held a very principled position on Ukraine, and unfortunately, this position is not very shared with a lot of people in Congress. It's unfortunately, we have the false choice of either saying that Ukraine doesn't matter to America or support Ukraine with no question asked, with blank checks. And both these positions are not good in our national interest, and both of these positions are not good in the interest of the people of Ukraine. And unfortunately, this monopoly of narratives prevailing in our government, in our society, and in Congress. So my amendment is actually very simple, and I know this is just, we're doing this amendment just for the show, and no one is going to pass anything on the floor. We still will go with blank checks and slush funds, and unfortunately, this strategy failed the American people. President Biden failed the American people on the border, on national security. Congress failed the American people on the border, on national security. President Biden and President Zelensky failed the Ukrainian people. They were not ready before the war started. They didn't have good strategy when the war started, slow-walked the aid, and really didn't fight and deter Putin to go further. And now we have a very significant war in Europe. And I said, unfortunately, this supplemental doesn't just have a lethal aid, it's had other parts, and they will go further, and unfortunately, no one is going to be taking our amendments. So because we have presentations and circuses, but decisions already made. So my amendment is actually very simple. It just says we shouldn't have blank check and let President Biden have presidential drawdowns increase from 100 million to 8 billion, including loans from 4 to 8 billion. So we're generally giving true blank check to President Biden of $16 billion. Congress forgot, that we should do our jobs. We shouldn't create these loopholes for presidents, doesn't matter who the president is, to be able to do what they want to do. This is our job to oversee these funds. So very simple amendment. This emergency that we created now go to the point where giving billions of dollars Congress and not doing its job. We have the power of the purse for a reason. So all it does, this amendment, it eliminates 4 sections that increasing, and it's a true blank check. Because when we say that presidential drawdown goes from 100 million to 8 billion almost, or from 200 to 400 million, from 25 to 50 million, we really don't even know what he's going to do. He can do whatever he wants with that. And that is a big problem, because these emergencies are dangerous, but also, what the problem we have right now, that in case of these emergencies, we actually don't have ability even to ask the questions, and Congress hasn't been asking questions. That's why we have such a major catastrophe around the world, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's Ukraine, and that's why China, Russia, and Iran are moving, and we're doing a lot of presentation with blank checks and slush funds and no policies. And so I would urge my colleagues to think maybe for a change and give this amendment consideration, which I have a very low expectations. And I also would consider, as I said, to supporting lethal aid with border security. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And it's sad for me to see that we still don't take this war as serious as we should be, because generally only 13.7 billion actually go to security assistance directly to Ukraine. From this 60 billion plus another 8 billion slush fund. So we're talking almost $70 billion plus another 8 billion of loans, whoever they go to. So we're talking about almost 80. So I have a problem with that, and I reserve.
Woman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Connecticut?
Mr. Chair, I claim time in opposition to this amendment.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 5 minutes.
This war is an existential conflict for Ukraine. As important, it is a test for the United States and the United States leadership. One of the best tools we have to get the Ukrainians what they need is presidential drawdown authority. This allows the United States to send equipment from our stocks to the front line in a matter of days. There isn't time to delay. This amendment would cut that authority from $7.8 billion to $100 million. It ties our hands, and yes, it hamstrings the Ukrainian military to do the job that they need to do to defeat Putin. We all lose if Ukraine succumbs to Putin's ambitions, and it will not stop there. Putin in 2016 asserted that Russia's borders do not end, and this is a quote, do not end anywhere. Russian officials just this spring have threatened Finland, Romania, Armenia, Estonia, Lithuania, and Moldova, removing the best tool that the United States has to exercise in terms of a moral clarity and responsibility, that we can move quickly to arm our allies would be a grave mistake. Please vote no on this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentlelady yielded back. The gentlelady
How much time do I have
India.
remaining?
Gentleman has 30 seconds.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to highlight we are increasing blank check from 100 million to 8 billion, and we don't even know if it's spent for Ukraine or not. Just a blank check of 16 billion to President Biden, purely blank check. And I hope that my colleagues will support that, because we need to stop slush fund and blank checks. We will never win against aggressors if we continue Congress not do its job. I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Indiana. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
I request a recorded vote.
What purpose does the gentlelady from Indiana seek recognition?
I request yeas and nays.
Do you request a recorded vote?
Recorded vote.
Okay, so pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Indiana will be postponed. It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 2, printed in Part B of House Report 118-466. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 2, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-466, offered by Ms. Green of Georgia.
Pursuant to House Resolution 11.